Welcome everyone. We are in a section beyond COVID, the possibility and longevity of digital first institutions in Latin America. We are going to split this session in two parts. The first part, we are going to have our panelists talking, and later on, we are going to discuss on your questions. And in the very beginning, we have three experienced panelists that will talk on these provocative sessions. We are going from in-person, remote, hybrid, and flexible to which changes happened and what happens during the COVID and what will last, going to covering some infrastructure problems and solutions and how this should be measured effectively. Also, not forgetting about new students. Are they the same or are they also different after COVID? How can we train teachers to tackle these problems? And finally, what change should university face in these digital transformations? I hope you enjoy all these sessions.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and share with you the experience and learn from other experience. The idea of the presentation is first of introduce something about UTEC, because we are a very new university. We are a public university. One of our commitments is close the gap to the access of higher education inside the country. We have a technological outlook. We put focus on research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. We are located in the 4 regions of the country. We have 3 regional campuses and 11 locations, another educative center. We have 5,000 students. 84% of these students are the first generation university in their families. That's a very important thing to our country. And 90% of the students are working in the position related with their student at UTEC. So I will share with you the process of digital transformation in UTEC. So the timeline here show what we did and what we are doing right now. From the beginning, the board of UTEC defined that we must integrate the digital technology in all the process of the university. So what we did is analyze and research the digital trends and what the university and governments are doing at that moment. With this information and the goal of UTEC, we developed the first digital strategic plan, and we start to development. After 2019, we analyze and improve what we did, and in 2022, we create the first digital transformation master plan. It's very new things. Well, what happened in 2014 to 2019? We put focus to integrate digital solution in the educational process. What we realize is we need to create 3 lines of work: techno-pedagogical, educational media, and edtech. Although this area or line of work have the commitment to develop digital skill in the student and the teacher, but in different dimensions or to resolve different problems. The first one, looking for the teacher integrate the digital solution in a reflexive way to analyze when, why, and for what they use digital solution. The second one is the teacher, they develop the skill that the teacher create their own educational media to convert the PDF in an interactive presentation or create videos or use mini games or simulation in their courses. And the edtech is how the teacher set up or configure the courses in the platform. And other thing that we did is define the first model to create digital learning experience. Here you will see the processes. The first one is the design the learning experience. Here, work very close with the teacher to convert the traditional courses in a digital learning experience and introduce the digital solution throughout all the courses. The second one is develop the educative media, and the third one is configure the courses in the different platforms. And of course, we introduced the concept of learning analytics to to the teacher and teach them, and we're still teaching, how to use the learning analytics to improve the teaching strategy. Another thing, so another achievement that we have is we install our MOOC platform. We are a part of OpenEDX community since 2015, and we create our digital educational policy for these MOOC courses. We develop our learning analytic platform. It's an open source solution, and here the teacher and director boards and staff can see the evolution, the academic evolution of all the students in a personalized way. And we convert all our laboratory in a VR solution. So from 2020, what we did, just before the pandemic came to Uruguay, we create the first framework for digital literacy. This was a very important thing to us because we put in contact or start to study the different digital literacy framework for another country like Discom Edu, SISC, ISTEF. They analyze this literature, and then we made an internal process. We started talking with the teachers, students, staff, and community to understand what they need and what they understand about digital solution. And with this information, we launched the first version. Then the pandemic is coming to Uruguay. So like another university, we create very fast a digital plan to help and work very close to the teacher to convert their courses in a digital solution and improve the teaching strategy so they can follow the courses in a digital way. We make workshop courses and help to the teacher to convert their classes. But the educative model of UTech is learning by doing, and all of our careers have labs, and the student must go to the labs. So we need to address this challenge during the pandemic. What we did is adapt the model to create digital learning labs to the process to the lab. So we include the strategy to flip classroom. So we give the materials to the students, they must study and make some tests in platform. Then we convert the labs in a streaming studio. So the teacher make the practice from the studio and the students following the classes through Google Meets. And then the student must demonstrate that they are simulation of the competence of the courses. Here you will see some part of the technology that we use. Here is a video, I think. Maybe you can see later because we don't have a lot of time, but that's important is some outcomes. The student done very well because they have 3.5 or 4 in the evaluation system of UTech, and it's a very good achievement. What we really realize here is you can digitalize everything on the courses, but no matter or what is really matter is identify which competence the student can acquire or develop from the virtuality, from distant learning, and which competence the student acquire from face-to-face. And okay, we start to asking this question in 2021, 2020, and another things at the same time, we are working in our second strategic plan of the university. In this plan, we introduce the digital transformation like a strategic line of works in the university. Also, we made a co-creation process. We asked for help to Arizona State University and work with them to chat with staff, academic staff, teachers, students, to ask them what they understand about digital transformation, why they expect about them. And also we analyze the summer model was developed by Puente Dura is a digital transformation framework for teaching and learning process. And the other that we study is Educase. And with this information and this process, we create the Center for Digital Transformation. We have 5 areas of works: data office, digital transformation in management process, technological applied learning, digital humanities, and software developer and user experience. So what we are doing right now, well, we are working very hard in this area. We define what is a hybrid model, educative model for tech, and work with the teacher and academic staff to jump to this educative model, hybrid. We are working in our data policy. We create our first matrix to digital competence inside and outside the university for students and for the community too. We are a public university and we need to work with the community and develop them digital skills so they can live in a digital world in a safe manner. We are implementing the first one, digital governance, and our digital transformation policy. And we are working in the digital citizenship program. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juan. And then now I pass the word to Jorge. Thank you, Jorge, to be with us.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't have a presentation to share with you, but I do want to talk about how COVID has transformed education and what we see has happened over the past few years, and basically what gave class an opportunity to start as a company, right? So I want to start by talking about what we see in terms of not technology itself, but what has happened after COVID in terms of student outcomes, right? And what we can certainly say is that not all students have come out at this end of the pandemic with the same outcomes. A lot of that has to do with how institutions were prepared or not as prepared to deal with the problematic or the problems coming from COVID and having to go completely remote. Having worked in education technology for the past 20 or so years, I've been in education technology since the second part of the 90s. One of the things that I can say is that a lot of institutions had placed a lot of effort into creating blended programs and programs that helped deal with remote education and online education, mostly in an asynchronous way, right? So a lot of instructional design effort was put to design courses and design programs that were going to help our students through their academic journey, right? And a lot of that was put on top of an asynchronous model, on top of an LMS. One of the things that happened during COVID that I have to be completely honest and transparent was very surprising to me, was that online education went from mostly asynchronous with some synchronous component to, let's say, mostly synchronous. That means that students and instructors were immersed in this completely synchronous environment where we had sessions such as the one we're having now with our students. And frankly, what we observed is that a lot of, again, what I said, a lot of the effort that institutions had made to transform the way that they created programs and developed these programs did not consider the situational differences of having to teach in a video and audio and synchronous way, right? So what that tells us is that there really is a need for institutions to transform, right? Let me give you a good a good example of how this transformation needs to happen, right? Students right now, and we're talking about students from all ages, but specifically in higher education, right? Students have an expectation now after that pandemic that online courses are now synchronous, right? For all students now, what they understand is that they could simply watch a video and get a lot of information from that. So if what we're thinking about is that transforming our courses just simply means having a web conference and have the instructor talk to our students are going to really immediately realize that that experience is not necessarily what they're looking for, right? So what I'm saying here is that there is a different expectation on the part of the student, right? The student is expecting a little bit more than just someone doing exactly what I'm doing right now with you, which is just talking in front of a camera, right? But that also, what that means is that instructors require a different set of skills to transform the way that they conduct teaching in or their instructional process online, right? It's not just about speaking in front of a camera, but it's also about creating an experience for students in which we can be more inclusive and make the students part of that learning experience. Now, a lot of institutions after the pandemic decided that they were going to go back into completely face-to-face scenarios, right? The reality is that another outcome of this pandemic is that students now have had the experience of the flexibility of just not having to go to a face-to-face or a physical campus, right? And we see this not only in student surveys, but we see this as well in surveys for employees, right? A lot of people are asking themselves the question, why do I have to go 5 times a week to the workplace? As a student, why do I have to go 5 times a week to my campus to be part of this learning experience, right? And that has put a lot of institutions in a bind, right? What are we going to do with this, right? And that's where HighFlex comes into play, right? HighFlex is going to give us an opportunity to provide the flexibility for our students to be part of these learning experiences, regardless of whether they're in the classroom or outside of the classroom, right? They can decide how they participate in these learning experiences, depending on their possibilities, depending on whether they have the mobility to actually go to the classroom or not. Now, this might be seen by some institutions as more of a problem than an opportunity, right? Because a lot of institutions might say, hey, this is not what I want to do. I really don't want to invest and move into this kind of model. But the reality is that what we have as our institutions in Latin America have the objective should be to be as inclusive as possible, to make higher education as available as possible to as many students as we can, right? For a long time, online education was the way to do it, but a lot of institutions decided or just saw that there was a big difference between face-to-face instruction or face-to-face programs and online programs. And that meant that some instructors, some professors were going to decide or were going to teach online, sometimes exclusively. And then some professors decided that, they just wanted to teach face-to-face. So what that meant is that institutions had to make that clear distinction between 2 different types of programs, sometimes with even completely different instructional design perspectives, right? But what this pandemic has taught us is that in reality, everyone, right, with some help can end up teaching online. And what the HighFlex model can help us do is to basically expand the possibility of making every program and every class in our institution, making that class available online as well, which just by definition and just by inherent virtue of that, we expands the possibility of bringing more students into our programs, right? So now that doesn't mean that it's not going to make it a little bit more difficult for instructors. I think that what Juan was saying is important. You know, we do need to transform the way that we teach, right? And we need to make sure that HyFlex does not mean let's just put a video camera in a classroom and have everyone that's remote just listen to what the instructor is saying, right? That is basically what, you know, in education, in higher education, we've been trying to avoid for the past decades, right? We don't want lecture-driven classes. We need classes that are more engaging. We need labs. We need things that students do in their experience. We need them to be more participative, right? So what that means is that HyFlex, the challenge that we have now is how do we bring in this technology to expand access to education to not just students that can be there face-to-face, but to students that can be basically anywhere in the world, right? But how can we make the life of the instructor easier, right? So that they can create learning experiences that basically would drive the same outcomes for those students that are in the classroom as well as those that are remote. That's where, as a company, and being part of this company, I'm really excited because we believe that we have a unique opportunity here, which is to transform online education from an asynchronous experience to a synchronous experience and provide the tools that will help institutions expand the reach and expand the reach of their educational programs online by facilitating the process of teaching in a way that is more than blended, which in a way that is HyFlex, having great experiences face-to-face and great experiences online for students, and have the students decide how they want to participate in these sessions. So I hope that was at least a little bit interesting for you. And Rodolfo, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jorge. And now I will pass the word to Silvia. Thank you, Silvia, for being with us. And it's yours.
Thank you, Rodolfo. I'm delighted to be part of this forum and to have the opportunity to share our experiences. I'm going to talk about Tecnológico de Monterrey continuing path towards educational innovation and digital learning. Next year, TEC will be celebrating the 80th anniversary of its founding and 34 years of the formalization of distance education. TEC de Monterrey is a private university with 26 campuses in Mexico. Although we have always been keen to try new things and innovate as an institution, and like many others, we realized more than 10 years ago that the educational innovation efforts we had been making weren't enough. We had to make a more radical change to align infrastructure, teachers' profiles to our students' profiles. Because as a university, we need to evolve and expand our roles. We have to solve today's pressing society needs. On this basis, we designed a new educational model that launched on August 2019 and is guiding our digital transformation. This model has 4 pillars that will help us provide the experiences our students need for their professional development. It will allow our students to solve real challenges, interacting with training partners from companies and organizations, and be able to choose learning paths to their needs. Also, we launched an institutional process for educational innovation, which let us incorporate more innovations to our educational model in a structured way, and to develop innovative projects that drive change in our learning process, such as adaptive learning, where the students advance on their performance levels. immersive learnings where students have access to different technologies and types of resources, learning spaces where they can interact with students and professors from different campuses and countries in real time. We also introduce alternative credentials with which they can build their learning portfolios. And we transform our library, which went from being just a space for individual learning and physical resources to a space that enables collaboration as well as individual learning, also offers new learning activities, and its catalog now includes digital educational resources. Over the last 10 years, we have been working in incorporating educational innovations. However, there was an initiative that has more than 30 years old. And we started, when we started exploring the use of internet and the use of television in education. And in 1989, we formalized a virtual university with distance education programs, which now offers a series of distinctive attributes, such as self-directed online courses and modules, but also courses in synchronous formats. And this gives access to our students to digital resources, links with international leaders, and national and international experiences. The impact that we have had is more than 2 million students, ranging from high school, undergraduate programs, graduate programs, lifelong learning programs. Up to this point, we were going according to plan. And then 2020 arrived, and with it, the COVID-19 pandemic. The combination of the deployment of our educational model and more than 30 years of experience in digital learning helped us face this challenge. We were able to ensure academic continuity of our programs in 1 week, even though it meant to attend 19,000 students and 10,000 professors. Now, the post-pandemic world expects digital and virtual learning to be the new normal. Although we had it in our roadmap to incorporate digital learning in our programs, the pandemic accelerated its inclusion. We want to reinforce 3 modalities of digital learning. And above all, the technology enhanced face-to-face modality, because we don't want this modality to remain uninvolved in digital learning. We want to transform it by incorporating the educational innovations I showed you previously. Adaptive learning, immersive learning, new learning spaces in an organic way, and ensuring the academic quality of our programs. Technology is not the end, but the means. It is an enabler. During and after the pandemic, we accelerated the training for our professors on the methodologies and tools we have for our digital education programs. We are promoting this training in all our professors because digital learning is going to be part of our value proposition. And finally, I would like to share with you our experiences on digital education, part of our history, as well as the projects we have recently completed. In addition, a collection of resources from our teachers and experts that we offer in collaboration with Time Higher Education Campus.
Thank you, Silvia, and thank you all for the inspirational talk. And we have some questions that we received during these presentations, and if you still have a question, you can ask in the box in this side. We have the first question from Maria Kinnaman. Thank you, Juan. You mentioned that there were some things you can only learn face-to-face. What have you seen those to be? Can you talk a little about that?
The thing is, like I said, in UTEC we have the educative model is learning by doing. And when we convert the labs in a streaming studio, we realized that we couldn't analyze if the student acquired the competence to management the equipment of the labs. So they couldn't define and and realize if the student can resolve problems inside the laboratory. So all of our careers and classes, the student must reach competence and demonstrate that they acquire that competence. Some competence the student can acquire or develop through online learning, like resolve some exercise of math, I don't know, make some tests. But when the student must interact with or management different tools or equipment, they need to go to the labs. They need to go to the lab and try and find and learn with other students. That's the big thing to us to jump to the hybrid educative model, you know? Because we right now in UTEC we analyze which competence the student can acquire from distant learning and which not. That's all.
Thank you, Juan. We have also a few questions about the students and infrastructure. So the first one from Anonymous: how UTEC and all panelists work with the students with limited technology research. Let's say a student that could not afford or did not have access with for all these instructors. And also from the other point of view, this transformation requires lots of professor time to create face-to-face, blended, and all of these new contents, and what strategies has been useful. I think we could start with Sylvia, and then if anyone else want to keep talking.
Yes, thank you. For our students, we when we design, for example, our immersive learning resources, we design them so they can be able to view them within their computer or mobile phone or with a visor. So they have the opportunity to change according to their to the tools they have. It is a challenge, but what we also do is we learn, we ask them what the technology they are using, what are their tools, so we are able to adapt our resources to their needs. And also we have developed, as I mentioned, in our library, there are educational resources, digital resources that they have access to, as well as professors. And we have an extensive training program for our professors, and also a team, a pedagogical team that accompanies them in incorporating these digital resources in their classroom. So we have instructional models that are available to them, and so they can be transforming, incorporating resources that are best fit for their type of discipline and type of learning that they have to do in their classroom.
Thank you, Sylvia. We have, I think I'll pass through Roger. We have a small set of questions going from examples of synchronous experience that Maria asked. Then we move to how to involve students when they don't want to participate in HyFlex, and also looking for something like how to is the difference between HyFlex and blended approaches in terms of technology and methodology. I think it's 3 questions in one, but if you can, that's Roger.
Right. So let me start with the last question, because I think that is going to give us a good frame, right? So what's the difference between HyFlex and blended, right? So blended, at least the agreed upon standard of what blended learning means is that there is a face-to-face component. Let's call that face-to-face component a traditional in-classroom experience with some online activities or content. So, right, what that means is, a class or a course is basically a series of face-to-face sessions where education and the experience looks very much like we all had when we were growing up. We have an instructor, a teacher, professor in the classroom with us, managing that experience. And then after that, you go into a web page, an LMS, some sort of system where there's follow-up activities, content, etc. Right? Sometimes assessments, collaborative experiences, etc. Right? That is blended learning, and that is how kind of the world looked like in a lot of ways before the pandemic. What HighFlex means is that it's about providing flexibility to students, right? And that's where I want to make a distinction to something that we haven't talked about, which is hybrid, right? Hybrid is online and face-to-face, right? Kind of mixing those together. But it wasn't about providing students with the flexibility, right? So, and I used to work at Tec de Monterrey, so I can use the Tec de Monterrey experience as well. Like back in my day, there was Universidad Virtual, or the virtual university, where some students were able to be in the classroom and some students were remote using the TV and satellite transmissions, etc. Right? So that is hybrid, right? It's a course that was taught both online and face-to-face. HighFlex means that it is not up to the institution to decide where you are as a student. You're not face-to-face or remote. The student decides, I want to be, today, I want to go to the classroom. Tomorrow, I want to be in my house. The day after, or I want to be in the United States. I'm not going to be in Uruguay, but because I'm traveling, but I still want to be part of that learning experience. And that's what HighFlex allows us to do, to be wherever we want to be as a student and still be an active part of that learning experience. Then let's go to the other questions. What if a student doesn't want to participate in HighFlex? And that's the beauty of the HighFlex. The student decides. If you really don't want to be ever online, you don't have to be ever online. You just go to your face-to-face. You're just going to be in an experience where some of your classmates are going to be remote. Some of your classmates are going to be there with you in the classroom, right? So from that perspective, I think HighFlex is the one that, as a model, provides the most this is redundant, but the most flexibility for students. Because yes, there are some students that are really reluctant to go online. A lot of that has to do with just, what the experience of an online course looks like. Sometimes it's a lot more demanding in terms of focus for students, especially if they went through traditional, face-to-face education in their, in their K-12 years, right? And then the last questions is about how does a synchronous experience look like? And that's a great question, because that is mainly the challenge that we've had over the past 3 years, right? Because synchronous means on time, real life, on time, like what we're doing right now. We are using video and audio. We're all here together. This is happening right now. But what we had as experiences was mainly what we're doing now. Web conferencing software, it's video, we talk, we have a discussion, and that's that, right? But a real live synchronous learning experience is about bringing in many different tools together, right? It means sharing documents. It means using online resources together collaboratively to learn together, right? It means bringing in elements that some of the tools right now that we have don't provide us with, but that we can use to enhance the experience. One of the things that I like to always mention about like online synchronous learning is, like, I personally have taught in front of students in a face-to-face environment. There's lots of information that we get as educators being in front of a classroom that when we move over to the online environment, we miss, right? If you're teaching in front of students, you see the student that's in all the way back to the classroom looking outside the window. Some student might be falling asleep. Another is asking lots of questions. All of this you see because of the environment that you're in, right? You see everything in the classroom. But when you move into online, there's lots of informational cues that are missing, right? And that's where the tools that we have right now are kind of lacking. And that is what we want to provide to our client institutions. We want to be able to enhance the possibility of understanding what's going on with our classroom so that we can include every student into that learning experience, right? And also, the students also there's things that they can do when they're online that they usually can't do when they're face to face, right? Which is taking very detailed and rich notes about what's going on. Also connecting with students that are not in their same classroom, but connecting with students around the world and making those part of our learning experiences, right? So I hope that gave a little bit of background about what we mean about synchronous learning.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you for the audience. We have a lot of questions here. We have some trouble here to find the questions we are selecting here, but I think we still have one more that I will ask the panelists to answer as short as possible because we are running short of time. And this is from Elena. Life at university is not only subject learning. It involves a lot of social skills learning, social capital development, which arise only through peer interaction. How do you expect this to happen in the digital learning future? I think this is a question about people, and we are only here because we have lots of people, lots of students, and lots of professors here. And I would like to pass to the panelists and also give you the opportunity to close your presentation, say one last word. So we are going to finish this panelists answering these questions. And from my point of view, I would like to ask everyone who attended here and all the panelists also. So let's start with the same order. I think, Juan, can you start?
Yeah, of course. This is a very important question. We actually in UTEC we make the same question. What we are, because we are a university and we need to improve and take care about social dimension. What we are doing right now is working to resignify the face-to-face classes and create different kind of activity inside the campus with the students. For example, make different kind of challenge and competence and work in teams in different kind of projects and go to the labs and work in pairs. Also, we are working in change our policy of the regulation policy to give more importance to this kind of activities. I think I totally agree it's very necessary, and we are a university and we need to improve and take care about the social impact about this hybrid model.
Joshi?
Right. Yeah. So I think this is, as Juan said, this is a very important question, right? This is a perspective, right? This is definitely not the answer, but something that's really, really important is that education institutions, right? They play a part in creating this social space in which students can connect with each other, and I totally agree. The university experience and the higher education experience is not just learning, right? But to be fair to like the reality is that when you go to this traditional higher education experience, you just basically go and be in a classroom with other students, and just by the virtue of being there, there's the space for social interactions to happen, right? One of the things, and I have to say, be transparent, I think you can see me, I'm not precisely a young person, but one of the things that we're missing, right, is that our students right now coming into higher education, they have an online space where they are very socially connected to other students, right? They're connected to other people, right? Through lots of technologies, but through messaging, TikToks and WhatsApps, and they already inhabit this space where they connect. Their social circle expands beyond their physical circle. They are connected with a lot of people in their lives, even if they're not in the same city or in the same school. What we can do, however, as institutions, is to promote communication between students in the classroom as part of learning activities, include collaborative learning as part of our online activities, and not think of students as little islands, but rather make students learn together, which is going to have them, increase their social circle, but also enable activities beyond just learning that will help them connect, with each other, right? So sometimes we're a bit, and this is for good reasons, right? We're very concerned about privacy and students and identities, etc. But we should, as institutions, we should let students know each other online and have ways to reach out to each other online, and just naturally those connections and that experience will happen for our students.
Okay, thank you, Jorge. And Silvia, it's up to you. It's your time. Thank you. And
yes, thank you. I think that we have, as a universities, keep exploring the new technologies that we have, and to identify those that better serve our learning goals, what better serves the students to prepare them for the profession. For example, we have been using immersive learning in a collaborative way. We have deployed our virtual campus for the virtual worlds, where the students have been presenting their activities, they have been presenting their projects to companies, and also these kind of activities are preparing them for their jobs, because now companies have their onboarding in virtual worlds. So in this way, they can also develop more digital skills that will prepare them for the continuous evolution of the technology. We are in the tipping point of the Web 3.0. We don't know what else is coming our way. So if we provide all the students in those spaces where they can develop their digital skills, I think we'll be preparing for them to face their future world.
Thank you, Silvia, Juan, Jorge. Thank you, everyone that were here. And I would like to call back Leah.